in, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Right now, pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope soul, sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. The like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope soul.
What?
Dope soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to the channel. Dope Soul Sports Talk, Dope Soul Knicks Talk, a member of the NBK family. This is the Just Nicking It show, where we just kicking it, you know, talking about the storylines as they relate to our New York Knicks. The Knicks beat Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs, winning an elimination game, one of the hardest games to win, and they did it in Cleveland. We now face the number 8 seeded Miami Heat, who beat the number 1 seed, Milwaukee Bucks. You know, I think the Miami Heat are a tougher team than Cleveland for a variety of reasons. They're more experienced than Cleveland. They're on a roll right now, playing with a lot of confidence after beating Milwaukee. They have an experienced coach who can match Tibbs toe for toe, and some will argue that Tibbs will have to keep up with Spo. All that being said, I think the Knicks have so many advantages. Our bench, our bigs, home court advantage. I think if everybody shows up in this series, the Knicks win. All right. Let me bring in the panel today. We got Jeff Clapter, the president of the Mitchell Robinson Fan Club, otherwise known as the Old Guy. We got Ajay CSK, and we got Delusional Knick fans. If you haven't already, check out the work that he puts out. I'm trying to get him to drop the link, but he's being real modest. So just in the search engine of YouTube, put Delusional Knick fan. All his videos will come up. Please subscribe to his channel. Hello, fellas. How are you?
Doing great.
Salute Queen, Jeff, Delusional, and Knicks Nation. Hey, second round. You ready to go?
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, before I get to Miami, I think we did have a post-game show. Did we have a post-game show after game 5?
No, we didn't have a post-game show.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome. So how about we talk a little bit about the Cleveland series, particularly our Knicks, before we get into Miami. So I'll just ask, you know, coming into the series, I think all of us had the Knicks winning. I had us winning in 6. Some people had us winning in 6, but then after that first win, changed it to the Knicks in 3. Who or what stood out for you during that first round series win versus Cleveland?
I guess I'll set it off. Who stood out was just Mitch toughness. Honestly, I said Mitch would have been the X factor as far as just averaging a double-double, which he did not. But just his physicality alone just set himself far apart from the Cavs bigs, which was surprising. I really thought that Allen would have gave us more fits. Mobley would have gave us more fits, but it's just the dominance of our bigs. Hardenstein as well. That was the surprising factor. And then, of course, our bench not getting it going until later on in the series. But to start it off, how dominant we were. I can't really say dominant, but how good we were without, Julius putting up crazy numbers quickly, putting up crazy numbers, and RJ's kind of, slow game in the first half of the series. So it was just a lot of questions going on with the Knicks, but yet we're like, wait, did we just win that game?
Right.
In that fashion? Like this is feeling good. And that was it for me. Pretty much is just how they won without them playing at their peak, at their best, at their highest.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And you look at the shooting numbers. We did not shoot. We shot a now Cleveland didn't shoot that much better, but we did not shoot well at all.
At all.
And we dominated that series. Anybody else want to chime in? Who or what stood out for you in that Cleveland series?
I'll chime in. Queen, like so many. First of all, salute to you guys. You know, I already, you know, Queen, Jeff Clafta, Delusional, Knicks Nation, and you know, guys. You know, before I start, I'm gonna ask you guys hit that thumbs up because those likes matter on YouTube. That's a good way to support this show and to support this channel. So as you log in, as you're listening to this, please hit the thumbs up. Many players stood out for me, and you know, of course, you got the guys who played well every game of the series, right? You have Mitchell Robinson, who was a beast. Shout out to Eru, who makes fun of Mitchell Robinson, call him a beast, but not really. But yeah, he was a beast in the series. You have Jalen Brunson, who played every game well. Even game 2 that we lost, he fought. You have Josh Hart, who played well every game. Even RJ Barrett, who the 2 games, he wasn't hitting his shot, but he was working. Okay, he was trying, he was fighting, he was doing whatever he could to keep the team afloat. Of course, the Obi Toppins played his few minutes. He didn't get a lot of minutes, but every minute, every second he was on the floor mattered. You know, and am I forgetting anybody? IQ and Julius are probably the only 2 ones, and Quentin Grimes, who didn't have all good games like, you know, throughout the series, but they came through, you know, in the last couple of games. And of course, let's not forget Tom Thibodeau and the coaching staff, who were excellent.
Yeah.
You know, throughout like all series long. You know, I mean, he made the right call at the right time, he pulled the right plug in the right numbers every time. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to them. So yeah.
I think what stands out to me, and I guess what the surprising part to me was, we kind of thought that what the Knicks were is what the Knicks were. And they were, you know, we all know they had trouble defensively during the regular season. What they were net rating was like 20th defensively. And they were able to step up their game, not only just step up their game, but impose their will on the series. And the Cavs weren't able to do anything about it. I mean, the one game that they won, they shot extraordinarily well from the field, and the Knicks were throwing the ball away like it was going out of style. But for the most part, the Knicks didn't shoot well. They didn't really have amazing games from any of our superstar players outside of RJ Barrett, who, you know, was incredible. But I like what Barrett did on the defensive end even better than what he did offensively, which was great. But when Barrett looked like, reminded me of 2 years ago defensively. You know, he was really locked in. He was staying in front of his guy. And that makes such a difference when he's not a net negative every play, when you can't just attack willy-nilly, when he's locking down. And he was guarding some tough people. I saw him giving Darius Garland fits. You know, it wasn't just like they were hiding him, because Brunson's the one we got to hide most of the time. So he was taking on some, not the best defensive assignment, but important ones, and holding his own. And if he's going to hold his own defensively, I think this team's a tough out for anybody.
You hit the nail on the head. But let me get back to the original question. To your point, Ajay, so many things stood out for me, player-wise and team-wise. But I think the 2 things that stood out the most was how the Knicks just dismantled this team. Like, coming into this series, I said, wow, they got 2 bigs back there protecting the paint, protecting the rim. That's where we get our points. This is where all 4 of our players, they'll shoot the outside shot to keep them honest, but quickly. Brunson, RJ, Randall, they want to get in the key, and they got these guys in there. What are we going to do? Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein were the best bigs on the court throughout the entire series, particularly in Game 5. Mitchell Robinson, you can argue, was the best player on the court. I mean, some of it showed up in the stat sheet, and he showed up big in the stat sheet. I think 12 points, 18 rebounds, 2 blocks, something like that.
18 rebounds. Insane.
His pick and roll defense, his offensive rebounds, just getting us chance after chance after chance at the basket. But also how, in my opinion, he intimidated Jared Allen. Like, Jared Allen didn't want any parts of Mitchell Robinson. He had 4 rebounds in the Game 5. I think he had 5 rebounds in Game 4. He was nowhere to be found. And that was because of Mitchell Robinson. So I think how he dominated them, despite not shooting well, stood out for me. Mitchell Robinson raising his level of play. I know he doesn't like the term playoff Mitch. Then I hope he makes them the way he plays, from here on out. And I'm not saying he has to get 18 rebounds a game, but his activity and his dominance was apparent. That stood out for me. And to your point, delusional Knick fan, how we were able to win these games without Randall, who was our leading scorer, having his best series, and without Quickly, who was our 4th leading scorer, and a lot of people said our 3rd best player on the team. At least he played that way during the regular season, and our number 1 bench scorer.
Yep.
And how we were just able to really embody that next man up mentality and really come out and just shine. Like, the Knicks thoroughly beat Cleveland. If you take out that second quarter of Game 2, this was a beatdown.
I think that's the only quarter they won, really. Everything else, it was a total demolition, like dismantled them. Total demolition.
Yeah. Just your opinion on Josh Hart. Only had 4 points in the last game, but was our second leading rebounder with 12. Just your thoughts on how he played this series.
I'll go. He played great. And, just a little, a couple of minutes ago, you said our bigs, Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. You might as well throw Josh Hart in there.
That's true.
Because he played like a big. I mean, and I'm sure everybody heard the clip of him saying, "Listen, Mitch, you grab rebounds. I grab rebounds that break teams." He really does. Like, he really he snatches it out of just when you think you're gonna get it, and he comes out of nowhere and takes it away. So yes, he was instrumental in that, giving us extra possessions, and that's, as you always say, Queen, that's how we win the games, because we had very low shooting percentage throughout the series, but we were able to win because we had so many shots,
right?
Because we had so many attempts,
right?
And that's because of those guys grabbing the rebounds.
Yeah, and to your point, in Game 5, we had 10 more shots than they did.
Yeah,
we shot 85 times. They shot 7. Now, they shot at a really good percentage from both the field and from 3, but it was on 75 shots. Yeah. Anybody else on Josh Hart? I want to talk a little bit about RJ Barrett as well.
Yeah, I have. My favorite Josh Hart stat was 46 minutes and 46 seconds in Game 5. That's how much time that dude was on the floor. Yeah. And his primary task was on Mitchell, and he gave Mitchell fits. He forced him into all step back threes. He didn't allow him anything at the rim.
Right.
I mean, I'm not into hyperbole, but he's the only Knick player we've ever traded for with a bigger impact was Dave DeBusschere, and that guy was a top 75 player of all time.
Right.
Outside of that, I can't think of anybody who's come in. He fits perfectly. You need him to score, he scores. You need him to rebound, he rebounds. You need a stop, he gets you a stop. He every loose ball, it's him.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
no doubt about it. And he gives us that flexibility. You know, RJ not playing well in the particularly in the regular season, not so much in the playoffs because RJ raised his level of play. But in the regular season, RJ's not playing well. You didn't feel like we have to close with RJ because who else do we have? Now we can close with Josh Hart. Now we can choose between RJ, Grimes, Quickly, and Josh Hart. Which two are we going to use? So he gave us so much flexibility. And even though he's 6'4", 6'5", he plays so much bigger than that. He was huge. And I think we got so used to Brunson and Hart, like they were just givens, that it was the other players that we were so enamored with, right? Because those guys was just like basic guys. All right, I mean, this is what they do every game, nothing special. But Mitch, you know what I mean? But RJ, and I just don't want to gloss over how, because if he doesn't play that way, if Brunson doesn't play that way, what those guys give us doesn't mean as much. They set the foundation for us so that those guys can do what they do and have it make a difference. Let me just get to these. Saying the Art Man, I appreciate you for the super chat. Difference between Bucks and Knicks: Brunson doesn't have to guard Butler. Knicks have 3 defenders to throw at Jimmy. Neither of them have to score. Just focus on the task. Hero was the equalizer. He's out. Knicks in 4 or 6. I love it. I love it. Let me just give a shout out to Jay Boogie, and then Ajay, you can go. Jay Boogie, my brother, shout out to the chat and the panel on this beautiful Friday evening. Blessings, health, happiness to you all. Oh, hit that like button. Salute, salute, salute. 3 capital S's. For those who don't know, Jay Boogie did a song for the Knicks. We play his songs on the content creator channel, this channel, and other content creator channels all the time. But the Knicks played one of them when we were there for game 4 we were there. They played it right in the Garden. And game 3, we weren't there, but they played it in the Garden for game 3 and game 4. So just shout out to him. I know that's a dream come true. That has to be special when you're doing something you love and then your favorite team picks it up and play it during a playoff game. So shout out to you.
Big shout out.
That was his birthday too, wasn't it?
The game 3 was his birthday. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ajay, you was going to say something?
Well, are we ready to talk about the Miami series, or we want?
Oh, not yet. Not
this week.
I want to just talk a little bit about.
We want to build up to it, or okay?
Yeah, I want to build up to it. I want to talk a little bit about just RJ Barrett's play, and just how he was able to turn it on. How surprised were you?
I'll start it off. I wasn't surprised one bit. Don't forget, every year we always talk about RJ needs to develop this, RJ needs to do this, RJ needs to do that. And then we see the jump shot come in. We see him being more aggressive come in. So certain areas, not the handle yet, even though we talk about that every year, that hasn't transpired yet. But RJ can deal with that pressure. That's one thing that I love about RJ. Like, he can hear all the nonsense going on. We need to trade her. We need to do that. RJ is the type of guy that says, okay, I'm going to show you something. And he's going to come out and have a good performance. So that's definitely one thing I love about RJ. So I wasn't surprised at all. Just know that the jump shot started to flow a little bit. Wasn't as efficient. I believe from game 3 to 5, he was 6 from, I think, like 6 of 13 or 6 of 15 from a 3-point line. So it's gotten better rather than the other series. But he started to come along. And it's with him. And Tibbs said it. Once he's in the gym working on that shot, is going to drop. And he said it in a press conference. Hey, RJ, when was you feeling your jump shot? He's like, well, game was done on Tuesday. He said, well, Wednesday I felt it because I was in the gym putting up shots. So I expected that from RJ. So good bounce back.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I didn't expect it at all. I was shocked. I was shocked. Pleasantly shocked, but yeah, stunned.
So I didn't expect it, but I was not surprised because we've seen RJ ball before. Okay. And the problem we have with him is he's inconsistent. Okay, but we've seen him have stretch of 10 games, 12, 15 games where he's like unstoppable. And I'm hoping this is one of those stretches where he balls out. Like, last year, remember the second half of the season last year? I mean, RJ was balling.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping this is the equivalent of the second half of the season last year where he's unstoppable. But yeah, he can ball, but he's inconsistent. So I didn't expect it, but I wasn't surprised because he can play. I mean, we've seen him play, So,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it, at all. And I'm not going to say I'm surprised. I'm not surprised, but I didn't expect it. And as a matter of fact, coming in, I had skipped over RJ, and I was like, wow, if they really take Randall and Brunson out of this game, we got to rely on Quickly and Grimes. I had totally skipped over RJ Barrett. And, to your point, delusional Nick fan, you're right about RJ Barrett in terms of not being shaken, not being rattled, not letting things throw him off his game. Because I've seen him in games go 0 for 6 for 3, not shoot well, stink up the joint, and then hit a big shot for us in the fourth quarter. And I mentioned it during the morning show that tells you that the player is not getting rattled by their play. They're not second guessing themselves. They're not losing confidence, because if you are, you're not taking that shot in the fourth quarter. A big shot at that. He's done that for us numerous times. I like him, going into this Miami series. We'll talk about it more. But if RJ Barrett, the more any team has to account for, the harder you are to beat. And if now you have to account for RJ Barrett, that makes the Knicks even more difficult to beat. And it raises our ceiling in terms of what we expected coming into these playoffs.
and I want to add,
Mhm.
RJ, he really is unfazed by all the noise. After game 2, they interviewed him. They said, RJ, are you concerned about your shot? He said, what's wrong with my shot? I'm shooting.
Oh wow. He
So
sounded like delusional then. I saw that clip.
He's
I
shooting.
was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he said, I'm shooting. There's nothing wrong with my shot. Well, they're not falling, but in his head, he's shooting. So he's
Right.
totally unfazed by the noise.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. Anything else about this first round series? Anything about the players? Anything about the coach? Anything about? Well, let me ask you this last question. I know Ajay biting. He really wants to get to the Miami
Oh, yeah, we
questions.
ready for this?
No.
Miami.
Please, let's take our time. Let's we can work our way up to it. It's cool.
Anything that happened in this first round that changed your opinion of a player or coach or the team? And I'll just start by saying my opinion of Mitchell Robinson changed. Particularly, like I feel like him and RJ kind of crossed over, and it remains to be seen, is this just them stepping up for a playoff game, or is this who they're going to be from here on out? And if this is who RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson are going to be for the rest of the playoffs and into next season, the Knicks are going to be a really, really tough. They're going to be championship contenders, because this is the thing for Mitch. For me, this is just my personal philosophy. If you're not going to give us much on the offensive end, you better be a demon on the defensive end. And I think that's what we've seen from Mitch. So I've seen flashes of this from Mitch from game to game. But what I saw in this playoffs was total, consistent domination, game in and game out. And if this is Mitch going forward, like that, the Knicks are a different team. The Knicks are a different team with that type of player in the back. Now I know there's the Knick fans, Mitchell Robinson fans will say, this is how he plays all along, Queen. You late to the party. He does this all the time. To a certain extent, and on a certain level, okay, all right. But this was another level. And so I think it's changed my opinion of Mitchell Robinson going forward, if this is the level at which he's going to play at going forward. Because I was clearly like, depending on who comes along, we can put Mitch in there. I think we can do good with iHeart and Sims. I said that recently, right? But the way he's played just really changed things for me. Let's see if this is just another flash in the pan, or is this Mitch going forward? But the question is, anything about this series that kind of changed your opinion on a player, team, coach?
You want me to,
I
can I
have
go,
one.
RJ, or you was gonna go?
I'll go first because I'll go quick. Well, Queen Mitch, I'm just like RJ. I'm not surprised. I didn't expect it, but I'm not surprised because I've seen Mitchell Robinson have those kind of games. He's done it before, but he's not consistent. You know, but in this series, he was consistent with like mauling those two guys. I mean, I've seen Mitch grab rebound with 3 people, 4 people hanging off, and he slips right through and get the rebounds. Right. So I've seen that happen. All right. Who surprised me? Like who in this series did something that I didn't think they could do, or I haven't seen them do, or you know, it was Coach Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah,
he adjusted. He made in-game adjustments several times, and they worked. And listen, those players, those guys have given us those kind of games, good or bad. I mean, we've seen IQ. Those games where IQ doesn't score anything or whatever, we've seen him do that. None of that surprised me. I mean, I don't expect those things, but they don't surprise me because I've seen those guys. I watch every game. I know what they do. I know what can come out of him on any day. Coach Thibodeau surprised me because of the adjustments that he was making. When they adjusted to his adjustment, he came up with a different scheme. He came up with something else just to throw them off. He did that all series, not just from game 2 to game 3 adjustment. Like he was adjusting after game 3. He was adjusting in between the games. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah,
the lineups, the changes, sitting Julius down, and like his rotation. He didn't use what we guys like to call the template coaching. He didn't use that. So he went with the flow of the game, and like he followed his own advice. He tell you the game, you read the game tells you what to do. He actually did that in the series. So that's what surprised me.
Now the adjustments you're talking about are rotation adjustments or game adjustments in terms of
rotation and scheme and in-game adjustments.
Okay, so both. Okay.
Right. I mean, because the rotation adjustment is kind of connected to scheme adjustment. It depends. Like if, for instance, Julius Randle's not having a good game, he throws in Obi Toppin. That's a different scheme because now the team plays a different way when Obi Toppin is there instead of Julius Randle. They play faster. You got the leak outs. You got, it's a little less stagnant. Not that it doesn't work with Julius Randle. It works with Julius Randle because he's a good one-on-one player. That wouldn't have worked with Obi Toppin. So with Obi in the game, and kudos to all the players too because they adjust. Like everybody around adjusted to the different style that they was playing. Cleveland didn't know what to do. They just couldn't keep up with the adjustment with the different lineups.
Right.
And not to mention as great as games as Mitchell Robinson was having, when he inserted iHeart in those minutes, it was the perfect time. Because Mitchell Robinson was having monster games. You figure he'd let him play more minutes. No, he when he threw in Isaiah Hartenstein, it was a different way of playing, but you was getting something different, but it was still better than what Cleveland was giving you. So
shout out to Morning Brew Sports. For those that don't know, they do an incredible job. They do a morning show, if I'm not mistaken, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. I was a host on the show recently. I met them at the MBK, one of the MBK watch parties. Just really, really cool dudes who do great work, have a great chemistry. So if you guys get a chance, I'm not sure if this is Phil or whoever it is, feel free to drop your link in the chat. But if not, you could just go to your search bar on YouTube and put in Morning Brew Sports. Please subscribe to the channel. they broke off on their own. They had thousands of subscribers and they decided to break off on their own and start their own channel. So we're trying to get them to 1,000 so that they can get monetized and beyond. Salute to you guys. Peace and blessings, Nick family. Shout out to Queen Steph. Hope all is well. Nick's family, stand up. Yeah, really cool dudes. Appreciate you guys.
I appreciate y'all.
Do you think now, because I'm a Tip fan, I always have been, and I think part of it is because I do think coaches in general get a bad rap. Like, and this is not just Tibbs. Like, I was so upset Nick Nurse got fired. And I think that's because I'm like, you got a good coach or you don't have a good coach. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good coach. He went to the championship. Last season, nobody expected them to finish 4th and 5th. They did that. This year, they finished, I don't know, 10th, 11th, 12th. Okay, now he got to go. You know, so in the NBA, I don't even think it's about being a good coach. You know, it's just about you got to win. And if you're not winning, you got to go. You know, just period. You just got to go. Like Nick Nurse is without a job. I don't get it. But after Atlanta series, I remember saying, you know, Tibbs is going to get us there. I don't think he's the guy that's going to be there when we win a championship. And I said that myself. This season, I changed that, you know, because I started to see that a lot of it also has to do with the players you have. You know, a coach is not going to just drag you across the line. You know, everybody is getting on JB Bickerstaff for Cleveland. What options did they have beyond their top, you know, their top 4 who didn't show up? Like, if your players don't show up or they get taken out of a series and you don't have a bench, like, what is the coach to do? Anyway, I'm not a Cleveland fan, but
I don't know, Queen. Now you've been watching
the Cleveland content creators.
What's his name? What's the guy's name? Quincy.
Yeah, but my other one is the Cleveland Sports Show with G. Bush 91. I think his name is. They do a panel just like that's my guy. Because he just give it to you straight. And I sent this out to a lot of people. He was so upset when they lost. He said, Mobley, he running down the court looking like a chicken snack. He looked like a 2-piece and biscuit with a little Debbie cake on the side. He can't do nothing against those guys. I put that on a loop and I kept listening to it over and over and over. He called him a chicken snack.
Yeah, they had to put an APB out on Quincy, man.
Right.
He disappeared for days.
Right. But long story short, I think with the right players, Tibbs can be on the bench as a championship coach. You know, you got to have the right players, though. And from what I'm seeing, not just the rotation. Like, a lot of people talk about the rotation adjustment. You could put in a play and it don't work because they don't do what they're supposed to do when they get out there. So the rotation adjustments, yes. But the game adjustments, when they were blitzing and double teaming Brunson, and what he did between game 2 and game 3 so that they weren't able to do that. Like, those are the things that I was, I was looking at. And listen, he's going to be challenged. He's going to be challenged in this Miami series because he's going up against Spo, who one of the best at preparing for a game, just like Tibbs is, but also the in-game adjustment. So we're going to see zone. We're going to see a lot of stuff in this series, and it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Tibbs adjust to that. But that was one of the things that I think has changed for me, is that I think he can be on the sideline when the Knicks win a championship. Anybody else in terms of?
Well, to piggyback on your point, Queen, I think that necessity is the mother of invention. Isn't that how the saying goes? Mm-hmm. And when we were 10 and 13, it was real hot under Thibodeau's collar. And I think he's like, this is my dream job. Like, this is the job Thibodeau has always wanted, was to coach at MSG for the Knicks. He was an assistant under Van Gundy. This was the job that he wanted. And he's like, I'm going to get fired if I'm a stubborn guy. I'm set in my ways. But if all I do is what I'm doing now, I'm going to get fired. I don't want to get fired. And from that point forward, he set to the 9-man rotation. But then I think he started to realize I've got to be flexible here. I've got to use my talent to its greatest advantage. And from that point forward, I love my personal favorite thing he did in the series was when he started screening with the guards on the trap. That was genius. Everybody was calling for it, but it's really cool to see, he watches the game 7-8 times. So we know he sees this stuff, but to actually see him implement it but it's not just implementing, because I've been a coach. You can draw up everything you want to, and the players can not execute, but what impresses me about Thibodeau, and I'll probably get the torches and pitchforks out from the anti-Tibbs crew, but what impresses me about him is that all of his guys are bought into what he's doing. Right. And anybody 1 through 13, I'm even talking about Evan Fournier, when he gets on the floor, not often, but he's going to do his role to the best that he can do it, And so when you have 100% buy-in, to me, that says the coach is doing something right.
And to
and
your
they
point,
like him and they want to play for him.
To your point, Jeff, that was a great move that you just mentioned. The screening, setting a screen with another guard, it was so easy. After game 2, it's like, oh my, look at how easy it is to just free up Jalen Brunson. Right. It was so easy to do. Like, rather than try to do pick and roll with Mitch or Randall, you just bring the other guard and you just switch the defender. You get Donovan Mitchell on Brunson. You get exactly what you want, and then it's free barbecue chicken after that. It was so easy, flawless. It was great.
Yeah. To Cody's point, I like this word. Tibbs stayed fluid. Right? Just being able to read the game as it's happening. What do we need now in terms of personnel, in terms of game adjustments, in terms of things of that sort? What do we need right now? Staying fluid. All right. Anything else about this before we move on to talking a bit about Miami?
Yes.
I'm ready for Miami. I pretty much agree with everybody.
Before Miami, I have one quick.
Bring on the heat.
Let's can we spend 2 minutes on what ifs, right? What if Cleveland did not trade for Donovan Mitchell and still had Larry Marketing, Colin Sexton, and Ochai Agbaji? Do you think they would have been a better team in the playoffs?
Nah, I think they would have still got smoked.
Really?
But we would have to scheme differently because Marketing is a stretch big. Now, stretch bigs usually give us trouble, and that's drawing out, some of that rebounding. So it's
I think so too. I think it would have been a matchup problem for us if Marketing was in
no,
there.
It still would have been Knicks and
but it would have been
6 or 7, but not in 5.
Well, we will see, because Kevin Love is playing for Miami, and he's playing a 4 though. But I think there are times when they play him at the 5. Also,
they don't really have a backup 5, right?
I don't think so.
Oh no, they do. They have Cody Zeller.
They
have Cody Zeller.
Oh, they do have Cody Zeller.
Yeah,
they do. But they play, if I'm not mistaken, they do play Kevin Love at the 5 sometimes.
Yeah.
We shall see. So before we get into specific questions, just your overall thoughts on playing Miami.
Can I go first on this one?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
President of the Mitchell Robinson fan club. Go right ahead.
Amen. So, this, and you look at the matchups and you look at it and you say 5 seed versus 8 seed, but I really think that's deceptive. Because if you look at Miami's overall record, they won 44 games this year, which is only 3 less than the Knicks won. They lost to Atlanta, which ended up putting them in the other play-in game, which got them to the 8th seed instead of the 7. But this is really, and I know they've got their issues and they're beat up and everything, but this is a really good basketball team with an excellent head coach. And Jimmy Butler is a problem. But I think, I don't remember who I was watching today, but might have been the KFS crew, but I like what one of them said. I think it was Sean with a W. He said that that to win in the playoffs, you really need 8 guys, you know? And from what he was saying about the Heat, I think they have about 2.5. I think they have about 2.5. I don't think they have any answers for RJ Barrett if he's playing the way that he's playing, you know? And what does, you know, we can't stop Jimmy, but if Jimmy's got to lock down Brunson, how much energy is he going to have to at the end of the game to play both ways? Because, you know, Drew Holiday's capable of that, but Drew didn't really get it done in that series, and none of those other guards for Milwaukee scare you. But we got all kinds of guards who like to dribble, penetrate, and get in the key, and will make you work defensively, hopefully. But I think that this is a really dangerous Miami team because of the head coach. And I also think with Butler, and they shoot the ball really well from 3. And our defensive scheme is designed to allow shooters to shoot open threes. I don't think they're going to shoot 45% like they did against Milwaukee. But if they shoot 38, that still might be enough.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they're going to pose certain problems for us, different type of problems. I don't even know if you want to say Cleveland posed any problems, but the challenges we thought we would have going into Cleveland, I think Miami will pose some challenges for us. But I still think if the Knicks show up, they'll still win the series. But you're right. This is not a team that's going to be shook like Cleveland was shook. They're not going to come into the Garden shaking and the Garden getting them out of their game. That's not going to happen with Miami. I think they're going to play a lot of zone. Shout out to West Coast Knicks. I think they're going to play a lot of zone. And I think that's going to be a challenge for us, you know, because we're just not shooting it well. Now, that could have just been the Cleveland series, right? Where we were dead last, I believe, in field goal percentage. 3-point percentage. We shot in the playoffs, we shot 28% from the 3-point line, which was 16th out of the 16 teams that made the playoffs, right? So if they play a zone, that's going to be a challenge for us. If we're hitting our perimeter shots, we're going to be gravy. If we're not hitting our perimeter shots, I'm not saying we're going to lose the game, but it's going to make it tougher, right? If they pack into that zone. So hopefully that's what the Knicks are doing right now. Part of what I hope they're working on is how to beat the zone. You're going over the tape. You see that they've played zone against us in the regular season. Hopefully you are working on how you want to beat the zone. Ball movement. But at the end of the day, you got to hit the shot you get. So West Coast Knicks, I think they'll be playing a lot of zone. It helps to show up those defensive rebounds as well as challenges the Knicks to knock them down from outside. Interested in seeing how Tibbs, Brunson attack the zone. So am I. Knicks win the series if they show up. But I think that zone can create problems for us. Anybody else? Just initial thoughts on the Miami series?
Oh man, it's like where do you start in this series? I'm not really worrying about containing Jimmy as much. We've done a good job dealing with Jimmy during the regular season. Then again, playoff Jimmy is a whole different aspect. But it's Miami and their 3-point shooting. With Hero out, I never wish injuries upon anybody, but once I heard that was just like, okay, cool, because he would cause fits. But then now we have to deal with Duncan Robinson and him running around like if he's Steph Curry, you know, coming off these curls and running floppy. So it's really Miami and their 3-point shooting. Knicks defense cater to certain offense to take those shots. And Miami has been getting it rolling in that series against Milwaukee. So just to shorten my thing, I think that's the only thing that I'm really concerned and worried about. But it's Knicks and 6.
Yeah, I think our bigs should still dominate in the paint. You know, in terms of offensive, you know, rebounding. They got Kevin Love, they got Cody Zeller, they got Bam Adebayo. If Mitch and Isaiah Hartenstein and Josh Hart played like they played in Cleveland, I think we should still get points in. Well, they're going to play a zone to try to limit points in the paint, but I still think we should be able to win the rebounding battle. Right now in the playoffs, Miami is first in points scored, 124 points a game, first in field goal percentage at 51.9%, first in three-point percentage at 45%. And all of those are significantly above what they shot in the regular season. Well, field goal percentage 46 in the regular season to 51.9%, plus 6.
What was Milwaukee doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Giannis go down and they just can't play defense or anything.
Right.
Jeez.
Now the Knicks, we didn't shoot well in that series, and a lot of it has to do with the team you're playing, right? But the Knicks had the number one defensive rating in the playoffs so far, 101.9 points per 100 possessions, right? And the fourth best net rating, the 13th best, 13 out of 16 best offense. It wasn't an offensive series,
Right.
Against Cleveland. But to your point, delusional Knicks fan, the Knicks defense is geared toward points in the paint. Now, Miami historically is not a good three-point shooting team. That should be in our favor. But if they start hitting them threes, how confident are you in us being able to get out and defend the threes on the perimeter?
I think it would take adjustments. Depending on how Tibbs, like how they play. Let's just say Knicks win game 1, then of course they start knocking down threes in game 2. Tibbs is going to see the scheme, see the movements, and he's going to counter. And I think we would prevail. Like I said, this is going to be the battle of the coaches, honestly. This is definitely going to be a battle of the coaches. Who's going to adjust to what, how Tibbs adjusts to the zone, and how we adjust to the three-point shooting. Don't forget, all the games we played Miami has been close games. We're winning games by 2 points or 3 points. So this series is going to be close. And like you said, the three-point shooting plays a role, but I feel confident. Like I said, it's 2 games, and that's probably going to be the 2 games that Miami win, is where they're going to shoot shoot the lights out, and that's where the Knicks is going to have the problem. But there's going to be other games where the Knicks is going to lock that up. You can't stop a team like that from knocking down threes for a 7-game series. But 2 games they get hot, Knicks will knock it down.
Right. The Knicks just have so many. Like when you think about what they have to worry about, keeping our bigs off the board, dealing with Josh Hart, who you putting on Brunson? You're going to put Butler on Brunson, then you want him to still score for you, to your point,
right.
Jeff. That's just a lot to put on them. Their bench is not, as strong as ours anyway, but it took a hit with Hero being out, then Oladipo being out. They just got a lot to worry about on the Knicks side. And there's just a few things we have to worry about on their side. That being said, we have to show up, right? We got to show up. So if we have multiple players with bad series, or they're able to take certain players out of the series, it's going to be tough. But if our guys show up, we win this series. And I think 5 or 7. I don't know if we can win game 6 in Miami. So I think we're going to win it in 5 or 7. But Ajay?
Games in Miami are like home games. Stop it. We can win in Miami.
It's not about the fans. It's about them being at home.
Well, don't forget, I've been to a live game in Miami. It's nowhere near. Then again, it's not the playoffs, but
yeah, the playoffs are different.
They show up late. They leave games early, even if they're winning. So it's just like, I don't know if their fan base is as will be as effective on that court as it would.
That's a good point. Are they as rabid as we are?
They're not as passionate.
Right.
I think Ajay made a really good point earlier that I kind of want to expound upon, and that's with Harrow being out of the game, we like to collapse the paint, but other than Butler, they don't really have players who beat you off the dribble. Like, I don't think you're worried about Gabe Vincent or Max Strus or any of those guys really being a threat, dribble penetrating, except maybe the ghost of Kyle Lowry, you know, and he only plays like 16 minutes a game. So I think, yes, our defense is geared toward that, but my question is, and maybe that will be with Bam being out there because he's a load, but will we have to collapse and do all these things where we're shifting our defense, or can we just say, hey, Jalen, stay out on that dude. Hey, RJ, just stay out on that dude. You know what I mean? And just be there and be present where they can't get good shots. Are they going to be able to punish us if we do that?
Probably not. I mean, to your point, Butler's the one that's going to put the ball on the floor and take it into the key. Other than that, you know, it's about staying connected to those guys. The thing about it is not only does he drive, but he creates shots. And the Knicks have a penchant for over-rotating on the drive. You know, I hear them talk about after the game, they talk about game plan discipline. That's something that's going to have to change. When Butler drives, you do not need the entire team to rotate. Like, you got to, you know, if you ever coached, you'll pull a player aside or in the huddle, you'll say, stay with your man. Stay with your man on the rotation, particularly if it's coming from the other side. You know what I mean? So we'll see how the Knicks, you know, how
very important.
Say that again.
I was gonna say very important. He always pump fakes. Like 70% of the time, he pump fakes, and I hope we don't fall for that. Watch the games. Go back and watch a couple of Miami games. He pump fakes all the time. And, you know, he gets a lot of N1s, so we really have to guard against that. I'm sure that
stay on your feet.
Yep, stay on your feet.
Yeah, to 21, Alex, not going to outsmart the Heat plays. They are too well seasoned. Yeah, listen, you're going to beat the Heat, and we will. They're not going to beat themselves. You're going to beat them, right? And I think if the Knicks stay disciplined, if the game plan is good, if they execute the game plan, the Knicks win this series and go to the Eastern Conference Final.
Ooh, say that again, please.
I like that.
The Knicks win this series and go to the Eastern Conference. Go to the Eastern Conference Finals. They should beat the Heat, and I'm not taking anything from them. This is the other thing I don't want us to underestimate: the role that they're on, the momentum that they have. You know, it's that chemistry, just like the Knicks where the chemistry, where you look at the team and be like, wow, like they just playing. We've seen it when they went on the 8-game winning streaks where the chemistry was so good. That's where Miami is right now. So I'm not going to underestimate, you know, that where they're just playing above their heads right now. At least that's what it seems like to me. But the Knicks are going to have to beat them. They're not going to give it.
Queen, you have a super chat from.
I have another super chat. Okay.
Sam the Artman.
All right, let me. Let me see. Did I star it? Yeah, I did. Saying the art man, I appreciate you. Mitch just dominated 2 7-footers. Bam is 6'9". That is correct. RJ has to continue to drive. If Randall plays, they have to guard him, making doubling Brunson hard. Brunson will beat the drive by driving to the middle. Yeah, I mean, he will. You know, that spot around the foul line is going to be open. So whoever, you know, cuts into that spot, you'll have the jump shot. And as the defense collapse, you should be able to hit somebody for a shot, but they got to hit the shots. You know, they're gonna have to hit them.
Hold on. Can I get on that a little bit though?
Yeah.
Not to burst the bubble, Art Man. Definitely love you, but Bam is different from a Jared Allen. Bam puts the ball on the floor. He drags the bigs out. Mitch is going to have to come out that paint. Bam is going to try to draw a lot of foul trouble. So it's a total different matchup. Not to say Mitch is not prepared and ready for that. I'm down with Mitch 100%. But Bam is a different dynamic. Bam initiates the offense. So he's at the top of the key doing pick and rolls, and he's playing the Hartenstein role at the top of the key. So Mitch needs to be on a swivel, paying attention to those cuts, those passes for him to attack, to help on the help defense. But Miami's smart. Like I said, they're gonna have Bam playing out, so where Mitch won't be able to grab those, as much offensive, defensive rebounds, as well as helping the contest on those block shots. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. In terms of bringing Mitch out the key, and then if Randall is not playing, look, those offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds is a big part of our game, dominating the boards. So hopefully Obi Toppin, when he's in, everyone is talking about his scoring, and we need it. But those rebounds, if Randall can't go, we're going to need those rebounds, particularly because Mitch is an improving defensive rebounder, right? Tibbs said so himself. He said the defensive rebounds are coming along. Okay? And they are. So if Randall can't go, Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin are going to have to be on those defensive boards. East Blue Drew, I got a sweeping Miami.
I like that.
Okay.
From your lips to God's ears, East Blue Drew.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I like that, but we have to be realistic. Listen, Miami, we pretty much. I mean, I know we beat him 3 out of 4, but we really equal to them. Okay, one game is on a Julius Randle prayer shot. That could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Another game, I think we won by 3 points or whatever. So we can't. Let's not sleep on Miami. All right, they didn't have. Like I think somebody mentioned here on the panel that their record is not that far from what we have, from what our record was. So let's not sleep on them. And then these guys, they're savvy. They trick. They Jimmy Butler. He plays the game, but he plays the head game also. For 48 minutes, he gets in your head, and we have guys that are susceptible to that. AKA Julius Randle. So let's not sleep on them. I don't think we're gonna sweep Miami. It sounds good. And I hope it. Yeah, listen. I would love.
You would love to be wrong.
They surprised us. Nick
They
surprised us in this Cavs series. So
Yeah.
anything is possible. KG
Yeah,
words.
No, I got you. Yep. So
Yeah. I just think you're gonna have to beat them. That's it. They're not gonna beat themselves. You're gonna have to beat them. Lowry doesn't play a lot of minutes, but he has a championship ring. Did Miami win a championship with Butler or no?
no,
No, but
Butler,
they went to the
Butler
final.
he doesn't have a chip. Yeah, They went to the final, the bubble final.
The bubble.
And they went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
And
like
they
a
went
year
to the
ago.
Eastern Conference. So they have the experience. But I don't know if Gabe Vincent and Strauss
Listen,
were
Max
there.
Strus, he's a very good 3-point shooter, man. We got to stay home with him. He's automatic. I don't know. I'll check his percentage, but he's automatic from 3, man.
No, but I mean in terms of championship experience, Eastern Conference is Lowry, Butler, and Duncan Robinson, I believe, and Bam.
Damn, Bam.
Yeah,
Duncan Robinson can shoot, but who he guarding?
Oh yeah, whoever.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever Duncan Robinson has to, like, if Duncan Robinson has to deal with RJ Barrett, they got problems.
right.
Same
And that's part of the
even-
adjustment.
same thing.
Just seeking out those mismatches and taking advantage of them.
And
Same thing-
Tibbs has
same
been
thing.
doing that. Brunson definitely been
Same
doing
thing
that.
with Strus. Who's Strus guarding?
Right.
He ain't no. He's not a defensive. He can't guard anybody. So he has a big body, but that's about it. He can't move. Like, he doesn't have that lateral movement. He's not that good.
Right. We've said some of it already, but just to bring it home, where do you think we have the advantage in this series?
Well, it's plain and simple. The same thing that we had against the Cleveland series. We got more players. We got more players. You quickly can come in, play great defense, and still give you offense. The same with Josh Hart. The same with Grimes. Grimes come in. Hopefully he comes back healthy, and he found his jump shot. And he can give you numbers. Then, of course, you got Julius. Whenever he could get it rocking, 25, 10, and 5. Brunson, pretty much most improved player for us. He can go out and give you 30 a night, win the series. And then of course you got Mitch, who's going to average a double-double. It's like we could go on and on, compared to Miami. You saw it. Jimmy Butler had to give you 50, or he had to give you 40, or he had to give you 30. So they relied heavily on him. And like someone said in the panel, Bam is inconsistent. One night he can give you 20, but the next night he'll give you 15 and 10 and 5. But then the next night it'll be 12, but 18 rebounds. So he's not really consistent in the scoring aspect to look aggressive. So the Knicks, we just got a better team, a better playoff team, a better grit and grind team that'll prevail.
More depth. I mean, they have Cody Zeller coming off the bench, for crying out loud. We got Isaiah Hartenstein. I mean, there's no comparison there. Cody Zeller, he can't give you nothing.
That's right. No Oladipo. I forgot about the
Oladipo.
Yeah.
And those were their players. Sorry, those were the players that were attacking as well as giving you perimeter jump shots. So they were more versatile and more used in that offense as attackers. Everybody else, like you said, is just primary shooters now.
They have that Cody Martin kid. He's good, but he's, again, very inconsistent. He'll give you one good game and then 3 bad games. On offense, he gives you I'm talking about offense. He'll give you 1 good game, 3 bad games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but his defense is good. So is Gabe Vincent's defense, by the way. He's a pretty good defender, Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, I think another advantage is our bigs as well. But to your point, delusional Knick fan, they're going to try to neutralize them by putting them on, drawing them out, whether that's with Kevin Love, whether that's with Bam, drawing them out from underneath the basket. But I still think we're going to have to they're going to have to contend with Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein for sure. Shout out to Sand Art Man. Appreciate you again. Don't live in a bubble. Can't burst it. Bam has been very inconsistent. Josh Hart being here is the help rebounder, which lets Mitch do his job. Yeah. No doubt about it. So we talked about where we think we have the advantages. What challenge does might Miami pose? And some of it we talked about already.
Just 3-point shooting, I think.
Exactly. They can go off off the 3-point line. I mean, they got pretty good 3-point shooters. We got to stay home with them. All right. And RJ's probably going to be matched up with Jimmy Butler. He's just got to do a decent enough job. And I think RJ is very smart in the sense that, and I remember there was a couple of years ago, it might have been last season, where he had a game where he went off almost 50 on Miami.
There was like 40 something, yeah,
something like that. And he said he watched Jimmy Butler. He knows what he does. He doesn't go for the pump fake. He knows how his defense is. You know what I'm saying? So he actually pays attention to the guy. So hopefully the scouting team help him, and they know what Jimmy Butler likes to do, and he could follow his game plan. If we do that, man, we're in good shape.
Ajay, that's a really interesting point. I didn't think about RJ guarding Jimmy at all. I just assumed it was going to be Josh Hart, but maybe one of the keys to the series is keep throwing fresh bodies at him and give him different looks, like give him RJ for 10 minutes and then put Josh Hart on him. Maybe give Deuce a few minutes, and Deuce a little bit small, but just to harass him and make him work. And then of course Quentin Grimes has been our best perimeter defender for most of the season until Josh Hart got here. So,
right.
If you have 4 guys and you can keep them fresh and you can make that the focus and look, we're not going to shut Jimmy Butler down, but if you can make him work on both ends of the floor, if he can still do his magic come fourth quarter time, you just tip your cap and call it good day.
Yeah, but, and RJ is a good guy to guard him because RJ has the size.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler is not quick. Neither is RJ. You know what I'm saying? So RJ could check him because he's not fast. He's not going to go, he's not going to like zoom past RJ and RJ not notice. You know what I'm saying? So, he has the size. That's why he's a good
but we gotta watch out for these fouls. Because remember, when we played Jimmy, Jimmy goes to the line
A
about
lot.
about 13 times a game. So we got to be smart, and with that, all that banging and stuff, you just got to play smart. But yeah,
Yeah. I do want to bring this up. Like we're automatically saying they're a good 3-point shooting team, but what are you going by? In the regular season, they shot 34.4% from three, which was 27 out of 30 teams. In the playoffs, 5 games, they're shooting 45%. Who's the real Miami? I do think Kevin Love going there has definitely helped, their 3-point shooting. I don't, I'm not sure they were a 45% 3-point shooting team, just like I don't think we're a 28% 3-point shooting team. But I do think that they can get hot. They have that ability. We have to be aware. Kevin Love, Strauss, Gabe Vincent, Butler has been hitting the three much better in the playoffs than he does historically, and that he has this season. So I think we have to watch it. But I don't know if I'm going in there like we playing the Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? I mean, we got to be aware of it. And they had a great shooting first round. I don't know if I'm ready to say they're a great shooting team yet.
Well, if they not, they in trouble. I think that's the only way they can beat us. If they're bricking like crazy, they're gonna be showing the door pretty quick. I don't think there's a scenario where they can shoot like we did last series and win the series. I think good 3-point shooting is very much essential to their blueprint to beat the Knicks. Maybe I'm off base on that, but I really feel like that has to be a blue, because if they're not shooting the ball well, I mean, we just go ahead and shoot. We'll get the rebound and we'll go the other way.
Yeah. I think that's a challenge, and I think the zone. The zone could pose a challenge for us, particularly if we're not hitting our perimeter shots. But
Max Strus is shooting 42.7%
for the season,
that's for the career. For this season, no. This season he's 35%. Looks like 35% for this season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
we're
going to play them regardless. We're going to play, them for the 3-point shot regardless. But I'm just saying. All right.
so yeah, hold on to piggyback off that, because I was looking at the previous 4 games that we had. It's not necessarily a great, but it's like you had Tyler Hero going 5 for 8 in most of the series. Oladipo 2 for 4. Struts is going 5 for 8. So it's just really those 2 guys that's really been killing us. Wide open shots. So
Right.
like you said, yeah, they're probably not a great team overall. And remember, Kevin Love was missing a lot of shots during that stretch as well. But we just don't want to give them that opportunity because they can.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt about it. Any standout? Well, just your thoughts if Randall can't go, in this series, or if he misses 1, 2, 3 games.
Can I jump on this real quick,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
I
yeah,
probably
yeah.
gotta go. As crazy as it sounds, the way Opie's been playing, I'm totally fine with Jules not ready to start the series 1 or 2 games or whatever the case is, because of what Opie has done in that short period of time and the spacing. Like Opie is not, he's every time he's pulling, that's a knockdown shot for me, for what I think. And what that does is that opens up the court now, because now everyone can't play drop coverage to where you're leaving Opie wide open, and that gives Brunson the opportunity to go to work. Kind of piggyback on the Cleveland series, they played 5 out with Hartenstein and Opie on the floor, which gave the opportunity for Brunson to go to work.
Right.
So me seeing that on the floor, I was like, oh, okay, Tibbs, I've been wanting to get the 5 out for him to go to work with the space and movement that it create. So with that, then Opie, of course, with Josh Hart, open, like how many fast breaks Opie had in the game? He had quite a few outlets where he was able to still throw it down. So that's easy buckets. We get easier buckets when Opie's in the game compared to, obviously Julius. Julius like to catch the ball in the paint, survey, do his little bang. I prefer that. But Opie, I'm cool. I'm happy with Opie. The rebounds, I think he had like 8 the last game. If he can get that, have multiple offensive. If Opie can be aggressive and give us the boards, I have no problem. And he'll give you like 2 assists, 3 assists. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'm nervous about no Julius.
No, Jeff.
I love Obi Toppin. I do. And God bless him. He really stepped up in the Cleveland series. And in some ways, he's one of our best perimeter shooters. So to your point, if you're going to zone up, it's a little bit more difficult, I think, to do against Obi Toppin than it is against Randall. But Randall presents Miami so many difficulties. They don't have, when Randall is right, they don't have anybody who can guard him. And he, I mean, he can just wreck their zone or whatever they're playing pretty much by himself, especially if he's playing like he played in game 5 before he went down with the ankle injury again. They don't have, I don't think Bam can handle him. And Kevin Love sure can't do anything against him. I just think if you're talking about matchup advantages, I don't think there's any bigger matchup advantage in the series than Julius Randle against whomever they want to put on him. And if they have to double him, which I think they will, that gives us the chance to get Brunson going, to get RJ going, to get Mitch on the offensive glass, because Miami's actually a really good rebounding team. That's something that we're not going to have the advantage on as much as we did last series, I think. So that means that the turnover game, as Ala Wise said, is going to be that much more important. We're going to have to protect the ball because, remember, we win because we get extra possessions. So in order to do that, we're going to have to take really good care of the ball and really make the most of the possessions that we get.
Yeah, I think we slightly out-rebounded them in the playoffs. They're averaging 42.6 points, rebounds. We're averaging 45.4. But defensive rebounding, they're out-rebounding us on the defensive end. 35.2 defensive rebounds to our 30.4. A lot of it also may have to do with just how many shots are taken. I think there was more shots taken in their series than we took in ours. Yeah. But on the offensive boards, even with all of those shots, they only averaged 7.4 offensive rebounds a game to our 15. So I just think, it's going to be a load for them to try to keep us off the boards. I think, the zone will help packing people in the key so they're in closer proximity than being spread it out. That may help them. But yeah, I anticipate us winning the battle of the boards. I just can't see. Well, I mean, listen, I'm pretty sure that's what Cleveland said when they went in with their 2 bigs, right? It's like, I just can't see us getting outplayed by, Robinson and Hartenstein, and they did it.
But the stats all season were that Cleveland was not a great rebounding team, and we were elite. I mean, they were one of the worst, and I think that there was we got 40% of the available offensive rebounds in the series, which is all-time greatest ever, something ridiculous like that. And so I don't think that we're going to have that. I think we'll still be a plus in that category. I just don't think we'll be as dominant against Miami in that area.
Yeah. Shout out to Paris Duggar, basically about Jimmy Butler and just how often he gets to the line. Like, you can't touch him, basically. And it's amazing when you think about all of the hits Julius Randle takes. If they called Julius Randle like they called Butler, Randle would live at the line, right? He just doesn't get those.
Or RJ Barrett, for that matter.
Or RJ Barrett.
Our free throw rate's pretty good, though. I mean,
I
think
our free throw rate is good. I haven't checked it for the playoffs. I think RJ Barrett's free throw rate was really good.
It ain't Jimmy Butler though.
It's not.
It doesn't have to be though. I mean, if Butler gets to the line 15 times, but we get to their line 20 from, Brunson going 4 or 5 and Barrett going 4 or 5 and Randall going 4 or 5. And, Mitch is going to go 4 times. He's not going to make any, but he's going to go, 4 or 5. And Hartenstein usually will get there once or twice,
Mitch
and Josh Hart.
Mitch should get 1 out of 4.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
he got that line drive. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, how did
never up, never in, young man.
It's like how did that thing go in?
Right. I'll say this back to the original question. The Knicks have shown no matter who goes out, they've been able to step up and still get the job done. I will say if Randall doesn't play, it does make it harder. I'm not saying impossible, it just makes it harder. And we're asking guys to step up on a more consistent basis. But any thoughts about the Tibbs-Spo matchup?
Ooh. Spoelstra's a great coach, man. But my only question is this, though, and I'd love to hear how many adjustments can he really make with the limitations they have injury-wise? Like, he's a great coach schematically and those things, and he can go to the zone. But I think in the case of Cleveland, they had nowhere else to go. You know what I mean? JB, he got killed, but what else was he supposed to do? And Butler is the best player in the series, but overall talent-wise, I think we may have 5 of the 6 best players in the series, or 5 of 7 because of Bam. So 5 of the best 7 players in the series, with Strus and Oladipo being out, are New York Knickerbockers. And those two can't cancel out all of them, or you wouldn't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Yeah, Butler and Bam. After that, well, we don't know if Randall. I mean, it depends on how if these guys. I agree with you, Jeff. If we're talking about them showing up the same way they showed up in Cleveland, then I agree. And in terms of having the next 5. 5 of the 7 best players, those guys have to show up. I think Tibbs is going to do all right, because I don't think this is the Atlanta Hawks Tibbs from 2 years ago. No. I think he's really. I liked the word somebody used early in the chat: staying fluid. Staying fluid. I think that's what's going to help us. And I think you could tell the difference between making an adjustment and they don't execute it, and not making the adjustment at all. And I think sometimes people get that confused. Like, if we win the game, oh, he made so many adjustments. If we lose the game, oh, he didn't make any adjustments. Sometimes you can not make adjustments and the team just finds a way to win. And sometimes you can make adjustments and they don't execute it. But if you're watching the game, you should be able to see that. What wasn't made and what was made and wasn't executed. So I'm trusting Tibbs. He's on his game right now, and to your point, Jeff, you can make all the adjustments in the world. You're going to have the plays to execute it. And I just think if everybody shows up for the Knicks, we just have too many options. Delusional Knicks fans, I know you have to go. Everybody give it up for my guy. He's modest. He doesn't want to put his link in the chat, but if you go to that search bar,
I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh, he's going to put it in the chat. Subscribe to the channel. It puts out great videos.
Salute everybody. Thank you.
All right, Delusional, man. Peace out.
Yeah.
To your point, Quinn, you just made. This is why I love this show. You always make me think of things I never thought before. But it goes back to what you say quite a bit. Everybody says, well, Tibbs is fluid. Well, when you have options, it's easy to be fluid. Like 2 years ago, what were his options?
Jeff,
he didn't have a lot of options, is what I'm saying. He didn't have a lot of good options. He could have made some changes, but he didn't have the same array of options that he has this year. I mean, you've got, as Queen said earlier, we've got 4 guards, wings who are interchangeable, and Barrett and Brunson and Hart and Quickly and Grimes, 5 really. You can put any combination of those 5 guys on the floor, so you can mix and match a little bit more. You can be a lot more flexible than you can be when you don't have the guys.
Listen, Tibbs lost me. Tibbs lost me with that. Alec Burks was the best option we had at point guard. I'm sorry.
We talk about 2 years ago, the adjustments in the playoffs.
Oh, in the playoffs,
and
my
not
bad,
having
my bad, because
and not having the options. But I still agree. I still think at that time, for what he was trying to do, listen, they not even starting Quickly now. And if you notice, when Quick is in the game, he's playing off the ball. Josh Hart is bringing the ball up the court. McBride is bringing the ball up the court. They prefer Quick to play off the ball.
I hear you, but Alec Burks can't even get playing time in Detroit. I mean,
you're missing the point, though. You're looking at a point guard. At that time, Randall was our point guard. So Burke wasn't even, it wasn't like Burke, you putting the ball in Burke's hand for him to bring the ball up the court. And this, he was just another player on the defensive side that allows you to switch, right? It wasn't like he was the primary ball handler. Julius Randle was the primary ball handler. And even if you put Quickly in, he would not have been playing the point. It would have been in name only. Julius Randle would have still been handling the ball, right? That didn't change until we got Brunson.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I think it was. I don't think they were looking for another ball handler. With that one. All right. Shout out to Paris Duggar. The biggest blessing with Randall getting hurt is it lets him see he can just play team ball and trust ball movement and teammates who he can make better. I mean, I do think that's part of it, but let's make no mistake. Randall is one of, is not, if not, the best player on this team. And I'm all for ball movement, but at the end of the day, when you look at that box score, your best players have to have taken the most shots. Bottom line. So if by ball movement, people are talking about an equal opportunity offense, no go. Ball movement, you make that defense work, you get easy shots, you get people involved, but at the end of the day, your best players have to have taken the best shot. You could talk about Golden State ball movement all you want, but when you look at that box score at the end of the day, who's taking the most shot? Steph Curry.
Milwaukee had that ball movement in that last game against Miami and didn't even get a shot up, right?
I don't know what was going on.
I don't either.
I don't know what was going on.
They panicked. I don't know.
They panicked. Giannis is going downhill. I'm like, oh, he about to do it. He passed the ball. I was like, what are you doing? Anyway, anything else about the Miami series coming up?
Anybody in the
I
chat?
have a question. And I don't, it's
yeah, anybody in the chat as well.
It's a little bit right. So, you know, at the beginning of the season, you know, if you had told me when the season began that we were going to go to the second round of the playoffs, I would have been over the moon. That's a really great, successful season. And I do believe that. But now that we've got home court advantage and we're playing Miami, do you feel like personally that it would be a disappointing season if we didn't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? And before you answer, let me say this. Y'all know I'm a Jets fan. And so I predicted the Jets would win 7 games last year. Not that I'm so smart. That's just how many thought they would win. Well, they went 7-3 and then they lost their final 7. So the goalpost for me changed. When you're 7-3, I expect to make the playoffs at that point. And so, yeah, we won the 7 games I expected us to win, but the season ended up being a disappointment because of how it ended. Now, do you guys think that if the Knicks, God forbid, but if the Knicks somehow stumble and fall in the series because Randall's hurt or whatever, and they don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, are you still going to look at the season on balance as a success, or are you going to say the Knicks were disappointing because they should have won the series?
No, the season would not be a disappointment, but I would be disappointed that we didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals, because I really do believe if everybody comes to play, we can beat Miami. So put it this way, if we don't beat Miami, somebody didn't come to play, or a few players didn't come to play, or Miami took them out of the series, right? Sometimes that can happen. So, yeah, I would be disappointed if we don't go to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I don't know if I would see the season as a disappointment. I hope that's not semantics. I wouldn't see the season as a disappointment.
Listen, to me, the season's already a success. I mean, just, the fact that we made it to the playoff as the 5th seed is a success, because, 90% of the, except for us crazy Knicks fan here, everybody else thought the Knicks was probably at best getting through the play-in. I mean, if they get in, it would have been through the play-in. No, but we were steady at seed number 5 with 3 games to go. We had 3 games that we didn't have to play because we already, confirmed a spot in the playoffs. So the season's already a success. Having said that, I really hate Miami.
Me too.
I do not. Oh my! I do not.
Amen.
To Miami. I don't care what happens after that, but I really do not want to lose to Miami. That's all. Just give me if we do lose, I hope we don't just take a whip it. At least let it go to game 7 and we lose on a fake shot like Jimmy Butler did, push the guy out of the way, and throw it against the glass. One of them stupid, I just don't want to lose to Miami. That's all.
No doubt. Shout out to 21 Alex, a Miami Heat fan. Welcome. Appreciate you being in the chat. What I will say is, just because A is better than B and B is better than C doesn't mean A is better than C, right? Matchups matter, right? So just because the Heat beat the Bucks, which is the number 1 team in the at least in the Eastern Conference, doesn't mean that means they're better than everybody, right? Matchups matter.
It means nothing,
right? Ask Cleveland. Matchups matter. But I appreciate you, and I agree with you also, Parrish Duggar. You can get your stars better shots. I think we're saying the same thing. Just make sure they have the most shots at the end of the game. If we beat Miami, we'll be saying the same thing about Boston or Philly, right?
Well, I would, because I mean, those are all I don't like those teams. Boston, Philly, they're in our division. I do not like them. I think Miami's the only team outside of our division that I don't like. I don't like the teams in our division, except I know everybody's gonna throw. I don't hate the Brooklyn Nets, by the way. Queen, I think it's because I get a lot of free Nets tickets. They give them away.
I don't know. So I don't know. Y'all don't know this, but I actually have a blog that I write, and it's called "I Hate the Boston Celtics."
Oh, wow!
Look, when I was wee little president of the Mitch Robinson fan club, and Bernard King had just ousted the Pistons in 5 games by being the best scorer anybody's ever seen anywhere. And we took Boston to 7 games, and Bird and Parrish and McHale just ripped my little 9-year-old heart out in game 7. And I hadn't forgiven the Celtics since. Not one day, not ever. So So if please God, let us beat the Heat. But if we play Boston, losing to Boston is not acceptable either. Not to me anyway. Like I don't necessarily. I mean, I grew up close to Philadelphia, so I hate Philadelphia and the Sixers too. But I'm not anywhere near that anymore. So that doesn't bother me as much now. But yeah, I can't stand Boston, man. That just I hate that green.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Anything else before we get out of here?
Queen, are we having? Oh no, go ahead, Jeff.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna ask about her schedule because I know Queen's gonna be traveling.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on. This has been a blast. I was so excited. They don't know this, but I was here an hour ahead of time. I just couldn't. I was so excited for the opportunity to be with you. This panel, no matter who's on it, you always expand my knowledge of the game, and I love hearing your takes. And you know, you change my mind about things sometimes. You make me think about things in ways that I never have before. And the best part is it's all done in love, and it's all done, you know, we're from different backgrounds, we're from different things, but we all love the Knicks, and we all want the Knicks to succeed. And this community is just amazing. And if not for you and for Sim and Ajay and all of the creators who are on here, it wouldn't. I was missing something before I became part of this community, and so it means a lot to me. And I don't know if you're going to go tomorrow or Monday, but safe travels to you. Enjoy your trip. And if you get to go to the Heat game down in Miami, you'll be there a whole quarter ahead of any of their fans. So
yeah. I want to leave tomorrow. Those who are living along I-95, if you're in the chat, I'm trying to drive to Georgia, just trying to get to North Carolina tomorrow. It looks like there's a big storm. My aunt, she's near 70. She called me. I think she's anxious. There's a big storm. Did you hear about the storm tomorrow? So I don't think she really wants to drive in that weather. I was looking at it. I think it clears up around Philly, Delaware for sure. But let me know out there if you're in the Jersey, Philly, Delaware area. Is there a storm warning there?
There's a big storm coming to the Miami Heat too.
For sure. And I told her, I said, if we don't leave tomorrow, we can't leave till Monday.
Amen.
I'm not going to be listening to the Knicks on the radio. I could tell you that. That's not going to happen. But anyway, Jeff, I appreciate you. Anybody in the chat who wants to be on the show, just DM me. Let me know you want to be on the show. And when a spot opens up, you could be on the show. Try to get 4 to 6. I try not to go over 6 unless it's Sim or Freezy. You gotta let them in no matter
They're
what.
legends, though. You gotta let them.
Yeah, no matter what. But I appreciate y'all rocking with us. If you subscribe to the channel, thank you. If you haven't, please do so. Get them likes up. We had like 100 and something in here today. Right now we're at 95. We have 66 likes. So if you haven't already, please take the time to hit the like button. It does help the algorithm and just kind of gets the show out to more people. I'm not going to be able to shout out everybody, but the coolest 718, 21 Alex, be sure to return. I appreciate you. You in here defending your Heat, but in a respectful manner. So I definitely respect that. Just trying to educate us. He's throwing out all the facts. Spo went to 5 finals or 5 Eastern Conference finals. Jimmy Butler has more, what do you say? More steals than fouls. So he's just in here just dropping all of the stats about the Miami Heat. He or she. I appreciate you for keeping it respectful. Paris Duggar, Trey 3, Trish D, 2 tears in a bucket. The names, I appreciate you. If this is your first time, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. Be sure to subscribe. to the channel. JJ, I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to
Yeah,
know that
what
you're
up,
always
JJ?
listening.
That's my guy. I love JJ.
Yeah, definitely. Trish D as well. Josh Smith.
Cormega, LOI.
Cormega,
Cormega.
yes. Morning Brew.
Yeah.
Sports stopped by. I think Tony Crow stopped by earlier. I appreciate you. I'm not going to get to everyone. Stafford Don and Sam the Ant-Man. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And all the super chats.
Trish D.
Yeah. Today. All right. Until next time, the Knicks play Sunday at 1:00. If I do a show Monday before I leave, it's going to be an 8:00 show because I really want to be on the road by 9:00. If I do leave on Monday, but
Gotta get game one, yo. Gotta get game one.
And it's at home court advantage we have. I don't think we talked about that. We have home court advantage. So we got the best bench, the best bigs, and home court advantage.
Yeah.
The Knicks should win this series.
I can't believe in round 2 we have home court advantage.
Right.
That's crazy.
I know Boston and Philly over there like, look at this. We got to go against each other. And Miami or the Knicks are going to make it to the Eastern Conference Final, and only one of us is going to get there.
Sweet. As Clyde would say, how sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
Man.
Yeah. Until next time,
I hope we're the one, man.
We should. Unless the bottom falls out, we should get there. We got work to do, though. All right, 21 Alex. Nobody is taking Miami lightly. We're just saying, if we show up, we should win. That's all we're saying. All right. Salute Omega NYK. Until next time, family.
Peace.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's her.
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at?